So I just went and stopped in at an office, a local office here. We're in Poland, to get all the paperwork to cross over into Belarus in the next couple days. And this is something you can easily do online. I'm going to put the link to this company because it's very straightforward, but it is, a Soviet type country, so there's a lot of paperwork involved. The license of the car needs to be registered, the engine capacity or whatever you would call that, as well as like all these different things. And then it clearly states where you're allowed to go, where you're not allowed to go. So for example, here you can go to Grodno, but you can't go any further. So you wouldn't be able to go to Minsk, for example. And you have to have exact dates of when you go in and when you leave. And you have to have a ticket, an activity ticket. So they give you because it has to be like a tour guide, basically, to be allowed in their country. So they give you access to a ticket, and very nice guy, very easy process. The other thing you have to have is insurance. So everyone has to have covered insurance. So you just have to apply online and basically go by the rules and have everything printed, ready to go, even though everything that he filled in is in their computer system. So just FYI. So because Belarus is still pretty strict, and it was a communistic country, and it's still under pretty, I feel like it's strict rules and regulations. We had a really interesting crossing story when we came into Belarus and when we went to check into our hotel. Or it was like we booked it through Airbnb, we booked it through bookings.com, but it was like an Airbnb style where we had an apartment and such booked out. So we crossed the border, and before we arrived at the border, we were realizing we were a little bit late, and so we thought we would contact the host to let her know that we were coming in late, and we still had the border crossing time, which sometimes could be a little bit longer than anticipated as well. And so we messaged her, and we called her actually on the phone, and we had Google Translate downloaded. And so we were playing one of these games where we were like, hello, and she's speaking back in either Belarusian or in Russian, and we couldn't understand a word she was saying. And so we were using Google Translate, saying, we're going to be about an hour or so late, or maybe more. Is that okay? And she was like, blah, 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 back. And we were like, we don't understand a word she's saying. So we were like, okay, let's just hang up and send her an email. So we sent her an email to explain we're going to be late and blah, blah, blah. We thought everything's going to be fine. Like, what would be the problem with that, right? So we arrived in Grodno, and it was very dim. Like, it's not like bright lights and everything, illuminated, not like we're used to anyway. And so it was really hard to see the addresses on the different places, and we were looking and we couldn't find where we were supposed to be going. So we were going around in circles. And finally we were like, this isn't working. Let's just stop and see if someone speaks English. And so we did, and of course nobody spoke English. So we ended up finding these two really nice guys. One was from Syria and the other one from Iraq. They were there doing a medical school, and it was just like this fluke thing, like, oh my gosh, you guys speak English? Like, thank you so much, help us out. So they did. They helped us out. We walked down the street a little bit, and they had a cell phone, and they were able to reach the lady. And because she is still old school, if you will, she was like, no, you're past the check-in time. Like, that's it. You can't check in anymore. And we're like, oh my gosh, like, where do we go? So we went to the downtown, and we found a hotel with Wi-Fi. And thankfully, when you book with like bookings.com and stuff, they do help you out. And so they were able to find us a new place, another apartment style. And we were like, it was just really crazy, really funny story, because the buildings are all these huge, big communistic blocks. And it's just like one after the other after the other. They all look the same. It's hard to understand like which one is which. And so we ended up asking these guys in the park to help us find out which building it was, and so they did. And then we arrived in, and we still couldn't figure out the level or the number. Anyway, it was really hard. So we ended up knocking on some people's door, and they helped us out to find out. I called the lady, and she met us there. And just on a side note, something that's really different in their buildings is there's no light switch. So you can't, turn on a light switch or press a button for the lights to come on. You literally slam your foot on the floor, like really loud, like boom, like that, and the lights turn on. And I was like, seriously? Like, it was getting late at night. I'm like, how do the people sleep in this building? But that's what they do there. And so we checked in. It wasn't what we were expecting, but it was like we were safe, we were sound, we had a really good night's sleep.
Hi, we're growing up without borders, and today we are visiting Grodno Belarus. So behind me is a statue of a very important guy, but I have no clue who he is.
So are we going to look him up and put it as a caption?
Yes.
So they have Burger King here, and so far, what have we noticed so far, girls?
Their style is amazing. Like, they got some of the cutest outfits. And we don't know what the money conversion is. It says it was 45 cents for all this stuff. It doesn't make sense.
No, they must have to add zeros.
Or something.
We think they use a Belarusian ruble. But yeah, we have XC downloaded on our phone, which we always use, but we can't figure it out, so we're not sure, because it says like something's 920. But we don't know if we have to add like 3 zeros to that or 4 zeros, because every time we were like typing it in, it still doesn't equal out to very much, so it doesn't make sense to us. So we think we figured out based on Burger King, because online I was checking earlier what the wages were and cost of living, and an average McDonald's meal is about $5. So when it says 7, 3, so what you would think is 730, it's actually 73,000, and that converts to about $5. So I think that's right. If I'm incorrect, please comment below and let me know so that we can also figure it out. So right behind me is St Francis Xavier Catholic Church. And what's interesting is it survived the World War II. There was hardly any damage. And in the 60s, they actually wanted to convert it into a museum. But despite all that, people still showed up on Sunday for prayer and such. So it still remained a church. Just to show you guys what this square looked like back in a few hundred years ago. So it was the main city square in the 1400s. There was a city hall that was built here, and it was the place of city authorities, social, economic lives of everyday citizens. Okay, so just to let you guys know, in a distance, in that building over there, they did the very first autopsy in all of Eastern Europe, and it was on the King Stefan, who was the king of Poland, and basically it was a Polish-Lithuanian kind of empire at the time. So pretty cool information.
Okay, so we asked a lady, and so now we figured out the currency and how it works. So $1 basically is about $2 their dollars, or 2 and a little bit. So you just kind of like do everything divided by 2, and like they took off the zeros to make it simple. And so instead of showing like 20,000, they just put like 2 point whatever, or just 2.
Segway tours around a city, so this is like somewhat of a Segway tour. Okay, I've just come up with a new way we are going to go see every city, and this will make it much faster, because sometimes we start early in the morning and we literally go all day long. And so this will make stops in between museums and churches and exhibitions and everything much faster. What do y'all think? I think it's a great idea. What do you guys think? Should we just buy 5 of these and zip through the cities with them?
Yes, so I can crash into you.
Here is their theater. And right below, in a distance, if you were to go basically down over there, is the Niemen River. This is their pool. They've all figured out how to stay cool on a hot day. There we go. So that's the Niemen River there in a distance, which goes all the way into their neighboring countries and Lithuania, basically. So they have the 3 masks that the lady's carrying here on the flying horse, similar to what we just saw in Vilnius. So it'd mean like drama, comedy, and tragedy. The majority of the population here are Roman Catholic, and we have some really interesting facts about what it was like before the war and such, which we'll share with you in a minute.
So this here is their nunnery. At least it was, but I think it still is. So behind us is the fire tower. And the reason why they built it is because in 1885, 600 houses were burnt down, so half of the town. Yeah. We're gonna go see right now their old castle. Not exactly sure, but this is the old castle, and then over there is the new, so I'll have to learn history.
Is it like their palace, basically?
Yeah, the palace.
That's nice. It's like a construction site in here.
Doing a lot of construction.
Do you think they're redoing it all?
Maybe.
So just to show you how religious it is here, these are all churches. Every single one. This is what Grodno looked like in the 1500s, mid 1500s.
So that key is the key to the city back then. And this is a boat for
It's a pretty big, like, key, isn't it?
Yeah. So this is their president, and he's been around since the early 90s.
And we're going to try and say his name. Okay, ready? Alexander, that's easy. Lukashenko. So they make these bikes, I think.
They're actually quite nice. They have some leather, nice color.
Aren't they cute?
They're really cute.
That's why when you're driving
This thing is.
in the north of Canada, you want to be careful at night that you don't hit one of those.
Because there's the ones can pick up your car, you know?
Or here, I guess it's the same thing, right? On our drive to Lithuania, to Vilnius, we saw so many nests just like this, like literally everywhere. And it's a stork nest. And basically, they're like the national bird in Lithuania.
Mammut range. This is a dragon's bone. And then look, a mammut from the inside the mammut. That's a mammut too. That's one too. Wow.
You want to explain what this is about?
This is all about the war. World War II now. Yeah, basically like half the population were Jews, so like 25,000 people like went to the concentration camps and they all died. And like over here, isn't the blue Nazis or the Greens?
I don't know.
I think it's the Greens. The Greens have no power.
They took the city over in one day, which is crazy. In Grodno, just before the World War II, half the population here were Jews. And so if you can imagine, there was about 25,000 in total. And when the Germans came and kind of took over, they divided them into 2 groups and they formed 2 ghettos. And so this here is literally the entrance point to ghetto number 1. And in one ghetto there was 10,000 people, and in the other ghetto there was 15,000 people. And basically almost all of them went to Auschwitz, and there was another concentration camp that they sent them to. And get this, guys, this is so sad. Every single one of them but one from Grodno died. So it's really sad what happened. So this whole area behind me is the new castle, and inside is a museum. Tyler went in while we went and tasted those yummy, delicious delicacies from Belarus. It looks like a macaroon, but it's not, and it's from their country.
It looks like the stuff Angelique and Dad likes.
Meringues. Not macaroon, meringues. Should we try one?
And then try like maybe 2 others, no girls?
The one like this. We just got these typical things, and they're actually quite doughy. So let's see. This is banana flavor. This is strawberry.
Is it good? I would love to be able to explain what these are. They're like typical from here. The girls tried them like you just saw. This one's good. Like the inside, it's like sweet.
Like a candy. Yeah, it's just powdery.
They're not, I'll just say no comment, staying neutral on them.
Okay, so the synagogue over there actually burned down twice, like completely burned down. And so in 1902, instead of like rebuilding the one again, they decided to make a new modern one. This one. Whoa.
This looks like a garden clock, like the one in Geneva, but we're not sure of the numbers because they go to 21.
24-hour clock?
Maybe it's a 24-hour clock, yeah, maybe. But then it should say 24. I'm naming this the city of many dresses. I think every lady here, not every lady, but many ladies here are wearing dresses. So we've taken a bunch of pictures to show you so you can see the different styles. And what's neat is they're all unique. It's not like they all shop at H&M and wear the same dresses. They're all wearing different dresses that you wouldn't see in typical stores. So I'm not sure if they're all like chain stores here or if it's all little mom and pop shops that make the dresses. I named like places like Italy the fashion central of the world, which it pretty much is. But I would say Belarus is rivaling.
Okay, so they also have really nice hair.
Why?
Especially the ones that have it down. It's like very flowy and vibrant, very nice.
Silky and beautiful and smooth.
Kobe! I thought that was, it looked like a kebab. It could be looks like it could be a kebab spot. I don't think that's, no.
You don't think that's the case?
That must be something way different.
Oh, I just clued in. This is like from Mamma Mia.
Oh yeah.
I was like, what music is it? I knew it.
Huh? Why? You know?
Okay, so this is our home for night number 2. So right now we're more closer to the downtown. And what's key is the number of beds. So show me
So
what we
isn't
have.
that a bed?
I think, yeah,
Hold on,
this turns into a bed.
I like how you can go upstairs.
All right,
It's nice.
let's see.
Pretty. These doors are locked. You have a single bed here
Okay.
and a nice view and a bed.
Another bed.
Oh, and a secret area.
Okay.
Somebody hiding.
And literally we're right downtown, I believe, to familiarize myself with the area. So there we go. Should we show the kitchen too? Da-da-da-da-da. So we're about to head out this morning to go into the direction of Poland, and we just came to show you a couple cool buildings. So this is the first one. It's this pretty church right behind me. And to me, all their churches here are so beautiful because you see this one's like really pretty pink.
And beside it has a little baby church too, which is funny and cute.
This is the next thing we wanted to show you guys, this big, huge kind of sculpture, like a plate or plaque. And I think it represents somewhat of like different jobs. You see some guy looking into a microscope there on the left. You see an airplane. You see all different kinds of someone thinking, like a philosopher. It's just really neat. I believe the university is really close by, so that's probably why they have that monument there. They have a big medical university in this city, and a lot of international students come. So the guy that we met the first night who was trying to help us find our place, he actually is doing a medical school here. So he was from Iraq too. So obviously he doesn't speak Belarus, he doesn't speak Russian, so I think he's doing all his schooling in English. So it's actually on the side of a house.
So behind me are the water towers, and as you can see, they are really pretty.
So this house here was built with not one single piece of nail. We thought it would be fun to show you what it's like to shop at a Belarus grocery store. Looks very much like a typical grocery store you'd find anywhere else in the world. Let's just give you an example of a notebook. A notebook like this, just this little square notebook. It's hard to tell because they are all different prices. But basically, probably around $1. Fabric softener. 30 loads fabric softener. Carefree cotton. It's about $1. We have Aquafresh and Colgate, and it is okay, here. Colgate is $1 here. Same with Aquafresh. So all the name brands that you're used to seeing. So here per kilo, that's about, for peanuts, $3 a kilo. They go by kilo. I don't know. What else can I show you? Olives. Let's pick these olives. These are about $1.50. Not bad. Alright, 65 of these all-in-one. Finish is about $10 US. Looks like all their laundry, like most of it, instead of being in like the typical bottles like we're used to seeing, they come in these like plastic kind of bags. So that's
More so
different.
powder.
It's powder, yeah, mainly all powder. Very few liquid ones. This is a big one. So this is like 360 ml, Pantene Pro League. That's about $3. Maybe this store has more selection than the average grocery store because we're seeing like large, huge varieties. Here they have essential oils for like, let me find one, like a mint one is about $1. Very inexpensive. Orange. What's this one? Oh, this is tea tree, of course. It has a kangaroo. I was like, what is this one? Wow, tea tree here is only like just over $1. That's basically $1 for this kind of cheese. Looks like mozzarella with herbs in it. Basil. Let's give it a try. Alright. So one of these is about 50 cents. Those yogurt drinks. And these like, they're like these little apple bread sticks. And they're about 30 cents. This looks really good. I think this is like their garlic bread, their version of garlic bread. Wow.
There are two there, guys. Can I get one of these too?
And then these garlic breads. These are about 50 cents. These, cheese and garlic, they're about 30 cents, 35 cents. So a half liter of Heineken beer is 80 cents. Okay, a liter and a half of water is 50 cents.
I love it.
There you go. Oh, here's a good thing. Dolce Gusto recharging caps, whatever you call them, refills are $7. Whoa, look at these grapefruits. It goes by kilo.
Oh, look at these apples.
Holy cow, have you ever seen a grapefruit that big? That's nuts. We have a cafe in here. A coffee, like a normal coffee, is 50 cents. And it looks like they have free Wi-Fi. And I'm gonna need it, because as you can probably see, I look tired. We've been like, just like go. And we still have a 6-hour drive today, so pretty exhausting. All right, so in their culture, it's like kind of like very, I always call it Germanic when people are like this, you know, but it's very Russian-like, right? So I asked for milk. Millie's like, no. And I'm like, oh, I just want extra milk and I'll pay you for it. She's like, no. And I'm like, okay, I want a cappuccino. So like, there's like all this like back and forth, and they're just kind of like, no. So it's like, can I have ice cubes? Like, forget about it, right? So it's really funny because, you know, we're used to the US, we're like, can I have milk? Sure, here's some milk, or here's some cream, but here it's like, no. And just so you guys know, the grocery store is called Europe. So maybe that's why there's a bunch of brands that is like international. I don't know, but it's a pretty big grocery store with like all the varieties of everything that you could possibly want and imagine. To give you an idea of some of the things we bought grapefruit, drinks, chips,
whole bunch of pastries,
tons of pastries and garlic breads, and I don't know what else, like snacky foods and just little things like that. Basically, this is the shopping list, right? So a lot of little things, and it came to $20 US. I'm going to explain to you guys how easy it was to come here to Belarus, because just a few years ago it was pretty complicated. It's still not an easy process in the sense that you have to fill out papers and documents, and they really do control and check everything. But you can come into, for example, like we did, Grodno. You can choose to go to Grodno, and if you go there, it's pretty much visa-free. And you have to stay within that area, meaning you have to stay in like a certain area. You can't drive further out or what have you. The other option you have is to go to a city called Brest, so you can go there. But like, for example, if you were there, you can't go over to Grodno or to Minsk. So you have to choose where you want to go. So you could fly into Minsk. If you're flying into Minsk, then you can actually travel throughout the whole country, or you can just like pay for a full visa, right? So there's different options. And as I'm saying this, maybe you're watching this in a year from now, everything may have changed. So if you're coming in and you need to do your paperwork, which is a must because everything is in basically Belarusian or Russian, and so you won't understand the papers that you're filling out. We're putting the link in the description below in the video to where to order your papers. So if you are going from Belarus into Poland, you're going to want to make sure you avoid going in the morning time, because a lot of people will go there to Poland to do shopping because I guess they save on the taxes. So we are now 3 in the afternoon and there's still a huge lineup. So just FYI. And Julia, what was the worst border crossing we've ever did in our lives?
One of the worst was definitely when we were in Ukraine crossing back into Poland. We had to wait about like 8 hours or so. And I was sick.
Chloe was sick, and we were in between the no man's land. So we were like stuck in between Poland and the Ukraine. It was like 30 degrees. It was just like a really horrible serious.
Like every little part of the car. Like,
They were opening not just the trunks, the roof of the car, like the engine area. They were hitting it with like these sticks and stuff, and like every car was being searched, and people had their luggage. They were going through the luggage, and we were like, oh my gosh, they're going to do the same thing to us. And we were like, this is going to be a disaster. And they let us through. So thankfully, maybe because we were, you know, obviously tourists, they just they still checked though. They still banged and stuff on the metal and whatever, but they didn't check our luggage. So we've been now here for 2 hours, and we're just now entering into the Polish border. And they had the same thing like they did in certain countries in South Africa. Like Southern Africa, which way is it? South Africa had it? Yeah. No, Botswana. It's Botswana. So they had those disinfecting mats. So everyone has to get out of the car and step on the mat, and it kills any bacteria that you might have on your shoes. All right, so it took us 40 minutes to come through the Polish border, which is actually surprising. And that was like with not much car wait time. And one thing that was strange is he kept asking like if we had gas and how much gas we had. And I was like, what? That doesn't make sense. So I have to like look it up to see why a certain amount of gas is allowed in. We're back into the European Union. We're home again.
thanks for watching our tour of Grodno Belarus. Please subscribe and give us a big thumbs up. And comment down below where you're watching from. See you next time. Bye.